DJ Shades. I'm back with Producer's Corner Business Talk. Today I'm joined by a special guest who goes, look, I don't think he's a stranger to the industry, actually. You know, some of you might know him. You know, he goes by the name of LLOYD Cornwall. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm really well, bro.
Nice of you to join us, man, you know. Look, we appreciate your time, first of all, because it's not easy to get a hold of you, especially with you being in and out of the country a lot, you know. So just to give the people a bit of a brief background, I know that you've got more than 20 years experience within the career sales and marketing, you know, and 10 of those years was spent running your own successful businesses within that industry and the blue chip industry as well, you know. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think I've always been in the music industry, but I chose to be in the blue chip area of the music industry. And my thinking there was, when I was very young, I was part of a pop band in the UK when I was about 18. And I went on tour I was 17 until I was about 19. And, you know, I could see who was making the money. And it wasn't necessarily the guys on the stage, you know, and I wanted to get into the sponsorship space. I wanted to get there, but that didn't come till a bit later. I mean, you know, from the early part of my career was music, house music specifically, and putting on house music parties at London's Ministry of Sound when it first opened. We had a brand called the Funky Chicken, and we used to fly DJs in from New York. Tony Humphries, Kid Bachelor, Frankie Fonzette, Mark Ayerbach, who wrote Crazy by Seal. So, you know, real old school fellas. And it was about the music, and I didn't know anything about business then. You know, and I knew nothing about business. In hindsight, I thought I knew everything, and we all do when we're young. Yeah. But I knew nothing.
So, just tell us, what is the blue chip industry like? What is it about? Because it's my first time actually hearing about it.
Look, I only got more into the blue chip space as I learned my craft and I understood my business better. You know, the first, and we were talking before the camera started rolling about my career being in kind of trimesters, and the first trimester was just all about the music. I did what I loved doing, and I loved staging dance music events. I loved seeing people go mad and have a wicked time. And those events were, you know, London and Ibiza and so on and so forth. But only by learning and doing that for 10 years did I start to understand, if I want to make these events bigger, I need sponsors. And that's when I made a fundamental change in the model that we operate on, and that was to concentrate on sponsorship. So I built a sponsorship consultancy. So, you know, say for example, you were...
It's an agency, but for sponsorship.
Yeah, it's an agent, and the agency is still running now. Massive Management is a kind of a dark agency. It's a business to business unit that serves Delicious Festival with all of its sponsorship. So, and the reason for that is, you know, I wanted to make my shows bigger and better and more people and more money and you know, more bombastic. But you can't do that without money from the blue chips. You cannot do it.
So the blue chips is the sponsorship?
The blue chips is the sponsorship. So I decided to spend my time more with, you know, your Vodacoms, your MTNs, your Cell Cs, your DSTVs, the companies that can leverage what we're doing for their own ends. Because I learned very quickly in life, you know, your career is short if you lose money on every show. You know, you've got a shelf life, and that shelf life depends on how much money you've got in the bank or how much your family's got and how much of it they're willing to give you. In my case, it was zero. So, you know, what we've built, I built myself and with my business partner, Tom. But without sponsors, without that blue chip involvement, without corporate investors into your shows, you can never make money.
What was the inspiration for you to bring food and music together in terms of the DSTV?
It's so important that you ask the question, and it's observant of you. Delicious was created when let me tell you what happened. I went down to Neighbour Goods Market one Saturday afternoon, and I was just hanging out with my friends, having food, jamming. I saw something happen that flicked the switch, and what I saw was a little old I think it was a little old Jewish lady, and she was kind of queuing up to get bread inside Neighbour Goods Market. And she bumped into this great big guy that had the dreadlocks and the grills, and to most people could look kind of intimidating. And I think he bumped into her, or she bumped into him, and he turned around and he was just so kind. He's just, ma'am, and he said, listen, come in front of me.
You thought it was going to be the other way around.
I didn't know what it was going to be because of how we all preconceive social tension. But this guy was just so kind. He said, ma'am, let me get you in front of me. Excuse me, can we serve this lady? You know, she was old. She was in her 80s. She just wanted a loaf of bread. And it was hustle and bustle. And that kind of flicked a switch in my mind that looking at Neighbour Goods Market, it isn't music that's bringing cultures together. In this territory, it was food.
So that's how you decided.
So there's the catalyst for Delicious Festival, because I couldn't achieve what I wanted to achieve with just the music. We had to bring in another element. We had to bring something else. So when I had that experience at Neighbour Goods, and I could see that at Neighbour Goods Market, I mean, there was tables where, you know, bench tables where people were mixing. They'd go and get their food, and one guy would have a burrito, and one guy would have a coronation chicken sandwich, and one guy would have a kebab. They were forced onto tables where it was completely mixed, and everyone was just hanging out, enjoying food. And people were saying, do you want to try some of this? And let me try some. Yeah, let me dip that. No,
it's a
nice.
very free environment. You know,
but that's what we all, surely that's what we all want.
Yeah.
Is that not what, and I always say as young people, because I feel young, because I've spent my life doing what I love, and that.
Your energy's young.
My energy's young, but surely that's what we all want. We want to walk outside and be accepted for who we are. You know, this is just a part of who we are. It's the body we walk around in, but we want to be truly accepted for our authentic selves. And that goes beyond race.
Just one question that I have for you. What inspired the collaboration between DSTV and yourself? Was it something that you came to them as, okay guys, I've got this concept, can you be a part of it? Can you be like my headlining sponsor and take the naming rights? Or was it a thing that you guys sat down together and came up with?
No, we came up with the idea of a food and music festival. It was initially called something else. We then sat with DSTV, and you know what you've got to look at, you know, the festival is almost an empty chassis of a car. It's got no seats, steering wheel, dials, roof. It's an empty chassis. A TV network is now able to load that chassis with its content and drive it out into the public so people can touch, see, taste, smell, meet, greet, and kind of ingest that brand. So the relationship with DSTV was always about, you know, TV is kind of, it's one-dimensional. It's a TV. You can't, it looks great, and I could imagine it smells great and it sounds great, but I can't actually experience it. And you know what they say?
That was a selling point.
Yeah, I think you know what they say about branding. If you know, you can tell somebody something 10 times. If they experience it themselves, you only need to tell them once. And branding messages are carried with much more impetus and veracity through experience than they are through advertising messages. Yeah. And whilst it takes a whole media mix of billboards and radio and online and digital and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all these different tools we use to get the message out there, ultimately the message people take home is their experience. And what Delicious gives DSTV is an opportunity for its viewers to experience you know, the TV shows that are on TV. I know Jay Something did My Kitchen Rules restaurant. Now, anyone that went to Delicious and went to the My Kitchen Rules restaurant is probably going to watch the next series. They met, you know, David Higgs, they met Jay, they met the contestants, they realised they were all real people, and they kind of grew, they bonded to that show, and that's their show. They're going to watch that show. So yeah, we built the festival. We've obviously had the experience to deliver massive festivals on a big scale, because that in itself is a You know, it's a huge responsibility. I've got the lives of 50,000 people in my hands.